come on. Oh, I see you, little stink butt. Come on. Oh, that is not a good sign. Oh, no. Welcome back to the second hour of my hardcore SkyBlock series. This is now the fourth night on my SkyBlock world, but let's get you guys caught up. On day 1, I punched a tree, then mined some cobble. On day 2, I expanded my island, then mined even more cobble. On day 3, I had my passive farm built, then decided to, once again, mine some more cobble. But then on day 4, I made a new friend. He even brought me a rare Lena Rain disc as a gift in exchange for 5 emeralds. But then the void claimed his soul. Okay, I may have pushed him, but there wasn't enough room. Don't judge me. Then my very first tree grew. Finally, more wood! But we can't forget that I'm doing all this directly above an ancient island. Before things get too chaotic, I want to try something new with you guys. Instead of playing elevator jazz music... Hold up. Did my first tree not drop anything? Wait, there's nothing here. That really sucks. Wow. Well, hopefully these 2 saplings won't ghost me in drops. Anyways, instead of playing music during the mining parts, I'm going to read some no-sleep stories from Reddit just to bring in a creepy vibe to match the endless void around us. My girlfriend and I moved into our townhome last month. It's one of those older units, early 1900s with a half-hearted mid-90s renovation tacked on top. High ceilings, creaky stairs, the kind of draft that whistles through the windows on windy nights. Honestly, we loved it. The place felt lived in, warm, and full of character. The maintenance guy Gus met us at the door on move-in day. Big man, mid-50s, salt and pepper hair, the kind of stare that makes you feel like he already knows more about you than he should. I'd barely spoken to him before, but when his eyes landed on me, something in his expression eased, like he'd been waiting for me specifically. "Welcome to your new home," he said, voice low and steady. "Aw, thank you so much," my girlfriend Mara said, squeezing my hand. "I'm Mara, and this is..." He cut her off gently. "I know who you are, Celeste." His gaze didn't move from my face. "Congratulations on the move, and on the rest. That takes guts." I blinked at him. Mara blinked at me. I hadn't told him I was trans. The way he said it, calm, matter-of-fact, made it feel less invasive and more uncanny. Like he hadn't guessed. Like he just knew. Then he cleared his throat. There are 3 rules about this unit. You need to hear them before you unpack. Rules? On move-in day? For a moment I thought he was joking. He wasn't, though. We followed him through the entryway, past the stairs, in the kitchen, then the dining room. The pantry stood on the far wall, its door covered by a tall mirror framed in dark oak. Something antique, something that didn't belong to any era I could name. Oh, hang on. Gotta kill these spiders first. Come on. Come on. Yeah. Oh, that was way too close. Okay, moving on. Gus stepped in front of it and placed his palm on the glass, as if feeling a kind of pulse through it. What? No, one more spider? Alright, let's kill this spider real quick. Come on. Yes! Okay. Alright. Rule 1, he said. Always keep the pantry door locked after midnight. I gave him a half smile. Like, raccoons? Ghost mice? What exactly are we dealing with, Gus? But Gus didn't so much as twitch. It's not the door that's the problem, he said. It's the mirror. It's old. A lot older than the building. Older than most of the town. His voice dipped lower. Just lock it. Midnight to sunrise. Mara and I exchanged a look, but he really wasn't kidding. He tapped the glass with his knuckle. The sound echoed deeper than it should have. Like it had somewhere else to travel. Rule 2, he said. Don't smile at your reflection. Not in this mirror. Not ever. Oh, we have a creeper! Oh, it despawned. Never mind. Rule 2, he said. Don't smile at your reflection. Not in this mirror. Not ever. Not even for a joke. Mara frowned. Why? His eyes stayed on the mirror. Because it'll smile back. 2 creepers. Whew. Speaking of smiling back, let's go get him. Oh, gotta get the spider first. Come on. Come on. Yes. Oof. Yeah, there we go. Took a damage. I didn't want to. Alright, let's knock out these creepers first real quick. Ooh. Don't blow up. Don't blow up. Come on. Whew. Oh, that was close. Come on. Get him. Yes. 1 down. Come on. Yes! And I have gunpowder! Sweet! Okay. Back to the story. His eyes stayed on the mirror. Because it'll smile back. A cold thread ran down my spine. He pointed sharply at the glass. You're not smiling at yourself. It is smiling at you. The mirror suddenly felt wrong. Too deep. Like it held more space than the dining room allowed. Like it was waiting for us to slip up. He stepped back, arms folded across his chest. Rule number 3, he said. Never open this pantry door after midnight. Not for a snack, not for a drink, not because you think you heard something inside. His voice thinned to nearly a whisper. Especially not because you think you heard something inside. He glanced around the dining room as if the walls might lean in to listen. If any of these rules are broken, it'll jump to whatever reflects. Water, glass, metal, even the screen on your phone. He swallowed hard. And when it jumps, it will call your name. My chest tightened. If you hear your name, he said, ignore it. Even if it sounds like someone you love. Mara's voice was barely audible. What exactly is it? He looked at us with something close to pity. Trust me, he said. You don't want to know. An icy shiver tore through me. Oh, and one last thing, Gus added as he backed toward the hall. If any rule is broken, pour salt around the pantry. One thick line. He pointed at a faint etching carved into the wood beside the doorframe. Say this Latin phrase. Revertere, unde venisti, Minister Speculi. He spoke the words slowly and clearly. The air around us dipped in temperature with each syllable. Don't break the salt line for 3 days. I opened my mouth to ask what the phrase meant, but he'd already turned away, practically fleeing the dining room as another cold gust cut through the house. For the first week, nothing happened. The mirror still made my skin crawl. I avoided catching my reflection in it, but the house stayed quiet. 2 nights later, everything changed. I woke up at 2:30 in the morning, thirsty, so I headed downstairs for water. Halfway across the kitchen, I froze. The pantry door stood slightly open, its latch undone. I thought Mara locked it. Had she forgotten? Heart pounding, I stepped toward it. Before I could reach the latch, Mara's voice drifted behind me. Celeste! I spun around, breath catching. No one was there. Then, from inside the pantry, muffled and stretching my name like it wanted to taste it. Celeste. The voice carried Mara's tone, but not her warmth, like something wearing her voice as a mask. My mouth twitched upward, an involuntary pull at the corners, like a hand behind the glass was trying to tug my expression into a grin. I clamped my hand over my lips, forced the latch shut, and threw the lock into place. I bolted into the kitchen for the salt, but when I turned back, my reflection stood in the mirror on the pantry door. Not mirroring me, not matching me, just smiling. Wide, perfectly still, teeth too visible in the dim light. I dropped the salt container and tore up the stairs, my pulse hammering against my throat. The next morning, a sharp knock jolted me awake. I cautiously straddled the steps toward the front door. Gus. His skin looked ashen, sweat beading on his forehead. You broke a rule, he said. I didn't argue. He pinched the bridge of his nose, breathing like someone bracing for a storm. Listen carefully. It's awake, and whether you meant to or not, you've drawn its attention. It's latched onto you now, Celeste. My knees weakened. What do I do? He motioned toward the dining room. Show me. We moved quickly. Gus grabbed the salt container I'd dropped and poured a thick line around the pantry, a half circle with an urgency that bordered on panic. I stood at the Gothic archway that framed the kitchen, keeping my distance from the mirror beneath the blanket of dread in my chest. "Is it safe?" I asked. "Not until I seal it," he said. He took a breath, then recited the incantation again, each word cutting through the air like ice. When the last syllable faded, the draft in the house seemed to pull away, as if something had retreated. "Do you have a large blanket?" he asked. "Yes, under the stairs." My voice came out thin but steady. I grabbed the blanket and a roll of duct tape. Together, we wrapped the mirror tightly and sealed every edge. "Do not ever remove this," Gus said. "No matter what happens, no matter what you hear." "You don't have to tell me twice," I said. He gave a short nod, then rushed toward the front door, moving faster than I'd ever seen him move, desperate to put distance between himself and whatever lived behind that blanket. I barely had time to breathe before Mara's sleepy voice drifted from upstairs. "Hey, babe?" My stomach dropped. I ran. When I reached our bedroom, Mara sat on the edge of the bed, color drained from her face, wide and frightened. "Did you come in here earlier?" she asked. "No," I said. "I haven't been upstairs since I answered the door." Her voice cracked. "Oh," she swallowed hard. "Then whoever stood in front of the mirror on our closet door looked exactly like you." I didn't sleep the night after I saw Celeste's reflection in the closet mirror. I lay awake listening for anything, any sound, any shift, any breath that didn't belong. I kept replaying the moment, trying to convince myself I'd imagined it. Stress, shadows, the house settling, any excuse I could reach for. But I knew what I saw. Whatever stood in our bedroom looked like Celeste, but it wasn't her. And the worst part was the way I felt it staring at me through the glass, like it was studying me. Celeste slept beside me, deeply and effortlessly. I envied her for that. For the next 2 days, nothing happened. No strange whispers drifting through rooms, no warping reflections, no cold pockets of air spilling out from the dining room like before. We didn't talk about it either. Celeste believed Gus had fixed everything, that the incantation sealed the mirror for good. I wanted to believe that so badly it almost hurt. But on the third night, the night everything went wrong, it was the quiet that woke me. Not a noise, but rather silence. The kind that felt deliberate and heavy. I opened my eyes, and every hair on my arms lifted. The air felt wrong, still in a way that made the walls feel like they were holding their breath. And Celeste wasn't in bed. My chest tightened. "Cel?" I whispered. Nothing. Her blankets were pushed aside, still warm, and the room carried that hollow, abandoned feeling you get when someone leaves while still half asleep. Celeste did sleepwalk, sometimes during stress, rarely, but she never went far. But after what Gus told us, after what I saw in the mirror, the thought alone made my skin crawl. I stood carefully, listening. A faint draft slipped under the bedroom door, cold, sharp, coming from downstairs. I moved through the hallway and descended the stairs, each step creaking under me. The house felt heavier with every footfall, like something was aware of me moving through it. When I crossed the archway into the kitchen, that's when I saw her. Celeste stood exactly at the border where the kitchen tile met the dining room's wooden floor, her feet placed perfectly on that line as if something had positioned her there. She drifted toward the blanket-covered mirror with a slow, uncanny glide, her movements loose and hollow. Nothing like the sleepwalking I'd ever seen from her. My pulse climbed up my throat so hard it nearly choked me. "Celeste?" I whispered, and that's when I noticed it. The salt line. It was broken. Just a small gap where her foot had dragged through it. The seal was no longer complete. The moment I stepped into the kitchen, I felt it. Whoa! Oh, no. Hang on. That's phantoms. Oh, I'm hiding. I'm hiding right now. Oh. Okay. Oh man, I'm not doing so good with hearts. Okay. I'm just gonna stay in my little hidey hole, and I'm gonna continue reading. Like a scaredy cat. The moment I stepped into the kitchen, I felt it. A pressure in the air, charged like the sky right before lightning hits the ground. Something was moving through Celeste, not around her. I inched toward her, afraid that any sudden shift might trigger something worse. "Baby?" I tried again. She didn't turn, she didn't blink, and she barely breathed. Her shoulders were locked in place, her hands limp at her sides. Her entire body was held upright as if by invisible strings rather than her own strength. When I stepped beside her, my entire body went cold. Her face, oh my God, her lips were pulled upward in a smile no human being should be able to make. A wide, chilling grin carved unnaturally high into her cheeks. Oh yeah, okay, nope, I'm staying hidden. I'm not doing anything. I'm gonna stay right in my hidey hole. Oh, alright. Sorry. Where did I leave off? A wide, chilling grin carved unnaturally high into her cheeks, like something had hooked invisible fingers into her skin and pulled. And her eyes weren't looking at the mirror. They were looking into it, straight through the blanket as if the thing behind it could still see her. "Celeste?" My voice cracked. Still nothing. Oh, I don't like the way it shrieks. I wonder if the phantoms can come right up to the slab. Oh, yeah! Maybe I can... Could I attack them that way? Huh. Come on. Oh, I see you, little stink butt. Come on. Oh, that is not a good sign. Oh, no. Oh my God. I'm down to 2 Oh, no. Okay, I am staying right in this hidey hole. I am not budging. Nope. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to continue reading. No. Because I'm scared. I don't want to lose my hardcore world. Okay, where did I leave off? Let's see. And her eyes weren't looking at the mirror. They were looking into it. Right. Straight through the blanket. As if the thing behind it could still see her. Celeste? My voice cracked. Still nothing. No twitch, nor any reaction. It was just that awful, stretched smile. I reached out with a trembling hand, terrified of what touching her might do, but I couldn't just leave my baby frozen like that. Not alone. Not with that thing watching her. The moment my fingers brushed her arm, her head snapped toward me with a jerking mechanical force, like a puppet yanked too quickly by its strings. Her eyes locked onto mine, glassy, wide, filled with something I had never seen in her face before. It wasn't fear, nor was it pain, but something else, something horrifyingly aware. But then, that's when I saw it, right behind her face, peering through her hair. The grotesque, dark face I'd seen that night. And before I could react, Celeste screamed. The sound ripped from her throat like metal shearing against metal, raw, primal, shrill enough to make my knees buckle. It wasn't her voice at all. It wasn't fear. It was a warning, a declaration that something was claiming her. I lunged into the salt circle and grabbed her, pulling her towards me. The instant we crossed the broken line, the screaming was cut off, and the smile had vanished, but her body collapsed into my arms, her knees folding underneath as we both hit the dining room floor. Celeste! Celeste, baby, wake up! Honey, look at me! She didn't respond at first. Her breathing was shallow, her eyelids half lowered, her face slack, like she was unconscious but somehow still present. I held her close, feeling her heartbeat slam against my own, while my own hands shook violently as I tried to steady her. After what felt like forever, she finally stirred. Her fingers curled weakly into my shirt. Mara? She whispered, voice small and fragile. I swallowed back the terror, clawing its way up my throat. I'm right here. I've got you, baby. You're gonna be okay. She blinked slowly, like she was resurfacing from somewhere deep underwater. Why are we in the dining room? She murmured. I stared at her, wishing I had an answer she could handle, wishing I could give her anything other than the truth. But I couldn't, not when she was shaking like that. So I just held her tighter and prayed the mirror behind the blanket wasn't listening. It had been a week since Gus stopped answering our texts and calls. 7 full days of silence. My nerves were wearing thin, and I didn't know who else to reach out to, or where else to turn. Then, the landlord called my phone, asking Celeste and I to come down to the office. I couldn't bring Celeste, not with everything she was going through, so I went alone. The second I reached the parking lot, I froze. Squad cars, several of them. Their lights were off, but their presence filled the entire lot with a heavy, humming tension. Inside the office, officers stood in a loose formation across the lobby, and 2 detectives spoke quietly with the receptionist and the landlord. When the landlord saw me, her expression folded in on itself. Mara, she said, voice shaking, thank you for coming down. We have some unfortunate news. Gus was found in his bedroom. She couldn't bring herself to say the words. One of the detectives stepped in. Gus was found hanging at the foot of his bed, he said plainly. We're still waiting for the medical examiner's report on manner and cause, so we don't want to jump to conclusions. But we need to ask you about something found on his phone. His partner lifted a small notepad. There was a voicemail, she said gently. A call that came from a number registered to your girlfriend. It was unusual. We can't determine what was said. Some thought it sounded like glossolalia, speaking in tongues. The timestamp shows it was received at 11 minutes and 6 seconds before his death. My entire body went cold. My knees buckled a little, and the receptionist helped me into a chair. I can't believe he's gone, I whispered. He was so cheerful, so kind. How could... My throat tightened too much to finish. The female detective nodded sympathetically. We understand this is a difficult time for you and Celeste. The landlord informed us that Gus visited your town home quite frequently. Can you confirm that? The landlord jumped in before I could even answer. Miss Celeste and Miss Mara are upstanding tenants, and despite their unusual living arrangements, they'd never be involved in anything like this. Their home is the oldest unit on the lot, so Gus has been helping them get it back in shape. I didn't know whether to thank her or glare at her for the offhanded comment, but the detective cut her off. Ma'am, please, we need to hear from Mara. If you can't keep yourself composed during this investigation, we'll have to ask you to step outside. She backed up, huffing. The detective turned to me. Mara, do you want somewhere private to talk, or... No, here's fine. I took a shaky breath. Gus wasn't just the maintenance guy to us. He was... Honestly, he was like a father figure to the both of us, especially to Celeste. He taught her things around the house. As far as the voicemail goes, I don't know how she could have called him. Her phone's indisposed of right now, sitting in a bowl of rice. That lie felt awful, but telling them an ancient entity mimicked Celeste's voice didn't exactly sound rational. But Gus really was the closest thing to a father she had. Her own biological father kicked her out when she transitioned. The detective lowered her voice. Do you think Gus might have tried contacting Celeste recently? Celeste is resting right now, I said carefully. She's not feeling well. That, at least, wasn't a lie. The detective handed me her card. I'm very sorry for your loss, and for Celeste. If you think of anything later, or if either of you want to talk after a few days, we'd appreciate that. We'll also reach out with any updates. And please, tell Celeste we're thinking of her. Thank you, I said softly. We'll try to be in touch soon. When I left the office, all I could think about was how to break the news to Celeste. But when I approached the porch, dread had seized me. The front door was wide open. I sprinted up the steps. My heart was pounding, and I rushed inside. The kitchen was a war zone. Broken plates, shattered mugs, flatware was scattered like it had been thrown in every direction. Cabinet doors hung open, swinging slightly as if whatever tore through had only just left. Then, That's when my stomach dropped. The mirror. The one in the dining room. The one Gus and Celeste had wrapped and sealed. It was uncovered, completely bare. I saw my reflection staring back at me, just mine for the moment, but it made my skin crawl. Celeste? My voice cracks. Celeste, baby, where are you? There was no answer. But then, faintly, I heard sobbing. It came from the pantry, and that's when my blood ran cold. Gus's rules screamed through my head. Midnight only. It's only after midnight. It was broad daylight right now. If she was trapped, I had to get her out. So I crossed the kitchen in 3 long strides, bracing myself as I reached for the latch, being careful not to look into the mirror. I swung the door open. Celeste sat curled in the corner, arms wrapped around her knees, shaking violently back and forth as she sobbed. I dropped to my knees instantly. Celeste? Hey, I'm here, honey. You're not alone, okay? Mara? Her voice was raw. No, stay back. I don't want to hurt you. It might use me to hurt you. Hey, that's not gonna happen, baby. I edged closer to her. You and I would never hurt each other. Nothing, not even this, comes between us. She lifted her head just a little, and right as I reached up to help her, the grotesque face, the same one I'd seen that first night, reappeared behind her head, grinning with jagged delight. Its voice spilled from behind her, warped and disembodied. She's mine now. A violent force slammed into my chest, hurling me backward into the dining table. Pain shot throughout my body, but adrenaline shoved it aside. I scrambled up and ran back to the pantry. I pounded on the mirror. Let her go! My reflection twitched. Then its arms raised and mimicked my pounding, only from the inside of the glass. I froze, hand flying over my mouth. The thing behind my reflection lifted a finger to its lips. Shh. Silently mocking me. Then it opened its mouth far too wide and let out a silent scream. I bolted to the stairs and yanked open the tool chest. My fingers closed around the hammer. When I returned, the reflection was still screaming, still silently stretching its mouth impossibly wide. I didn't think. I just swung the hammer into the mirror. Glass exploded outward, shards scattered across the floor. One piece clinked near my foot, my reflected mouth frozen in that unnatural stretched scream, before it cracked from its center. Behind the broken frame, the wooden panel of the pantry was carved with symbols, etched deep in a language I have never seen before. Before I could process any of it, the pantry latch clicked. The door swung open on its own. Celeste was still curled on the floor, crying. I rushed in and pulled her into my arms. She hesitated at first, terrified, but eventually clung to me like she was drowning. We bolted through the kitchen as the pantry door slammed violently behind us. Cabinet doors flew open, drawers launched halfway across the room. I grabbed my keys with shaking hands, dragged Celeste out the front door, and shoved her gently into the passenger seat. I buckled her in with trembling hands before running around to the driver's side. I started the car, and didn't stop driving until we found a motel far, far away from home. The first 2 days after Gus sealed the mirror, Mara called them quiet. Peaceful even. They weren't peaceful for me. The house felt like it had shifted 1 inch to the left, still standing in the same spot, but wrong in a way that I couldn't describe. Every reflection tugged at the corner of my vision. The microwave door, the black glass of the oven, even my phone screen. It felt like it was waiting for me to slip up. I pretended to sleep fine so Mara wouldn't worry. She needed the rest, and she needed to believe it was over. But I knew better. Because the first night after Gus wrapped the mirror, I dreamt of something that wasn't just a dream. It felt like a memory that someone had taken apart and reassembled in the wrong order. In the dream, I was lying on the couch, half awake, staring at the ceiling fan. The house was dim, the lights off, except for the glow from my phone screen on the coffee table. Mara was upstairs asleep, and then my phone buzzed. Gus, incoming call. I remembered thinking, shouldn't he be asleep by now? Why is he calling so late? But in the dream, I still answered. Hey, Gus, I said, my voice rough with sleep. What came back sounded like him, but a half-second delayed, like his voice had to fight its way through the static. Celeste, he said. Good, you're awake. Listen, I need your help. He sounded strained, like he was being formal, yet cautious. What's wrong? I sat up in the dream, though I couldn't feel my own weight on the couch. Everything had that floaty, slightly off sensation, like I was puppeted instead of moving of my own free will. On the other end, Gus exhaled. The seal is weak, and I need you to repeat the incantation, only this time in reverse. It will reinforce what I did earlier. I just couldn't shake the feeling that it felt wrong, what he asked me to do. Why didn't you just do it yourself when you were here? I asked. He chuckled, but there was no warmth in it. It was just a hollow approximation. Because, Celeste, it listens to you. You're the one it wants. Your voice makes the binding that much stronger. I should have hung up, but in the dream, my chest ached with this heavy, nauseating guilt, like I owed him. He'd risked himself to help us. Maybe this was the least I could do. What do I have to say? I asked quietly. Just repeat after me, he said. The room around me darkened, but it wasn't the kind of dark you get from the lack of light. It was the kind that feels poured in, like ink. His next words came out wrong. They were slippery and distorted. Ilu caps, ritsinim, itsinev, ednu, revertere. The phrase crawled right into my jaw and sat there, heavy. My tongue tingled, resisting. That's not what you said earlier, I said. Gus, this doesn't feel right. On the other end, his voice sharpened. This version is much stronger, he insisted. This is the true binding. Repeat it exactly. Don't think about it. Just say it. In the dream, my vision tunneled. I wasn't on the couch anymore. I was now standing in front of the pantry mirror. Only it wasn't wrapped. The glass was bare, black as a deep well, reflections stretched impossibly far inside it, layer after layer like a hall of mirrors folding into it. But somewhere in those depths, I saw a sigil etched in faint red light, an upside-down pentacle with a perfect pentagram trapped in its center like an insect pinned under glass. Circling it were lines of jagged text, curling hook-like strokes. My own voice echoed from far away. Ilu keps retsinim itsinev ed nu Revertere. When I finished the last syllable, the symbol inside the mirror flared, and then everything went silent. On the phone, Gus laughed softly, but it wasn't like himself. Good girl, he said. That's all I needed. I wanted to speak, to ask if the mirror was safe now, to ask if he was okay. But my mouth wouldn't move, my hands wouldn't move. I was just a reflection watching myself, frozen in the glass, while somewhere on the other end of that line, something snapped tight, like some kind of rope gripping around someone. Then the call ended. I jolted awake in my bed, gasping. Mara's arm was around my waist like it had been the whole night. Except my phone was glowing on the nightstand, and there was a notification for a voicemail sent to Gus's number. But it was also sent to my phone as well. In the morning, I told myself it was a glitch, that the voicemail was just a pocket dial. I didn't open it. I couldn't listen to what I'd sent. What I had done to the man that was like a father to me. The second night, I dreamed of breakfast. It was the same morning Mara and I had breakfast together. The one where she said my smile lingered too long. In the dream, in all my dreams, everything was reversed, like it was mirrored. As we sat at the dining table, the kitchen would be on my left instead of my right. Mara would eat with her right hand instead of her left. And as we sat there, the soft morning light pooled over the plates. Mara was talking about some podcast she'd been listening to, waving her fork in little arcs over her scrambled eggs. She looked so tired, but so cute. Her hair messy, hoodie slipping off one shoulder. From my seat, I watched her, but it was watching her from behind, taunting me with its grotesque form, despite its features being blurred, like someone had smeared them with a thumb. But the outline was consistent, tall, narrow, and its head tilted to the side in an unnatural way. Its hands always hovered above her shoulders, with its long and bony fingers almost touching her throat. "Smile," it whispered, but not with sound, with pressure, with the tightening of my muscles like invisible strings tugging at my face. My lips pulled upward. Mara laughed at something she'd said, then looked up at me and smiled back. For a moment, things felt normal, until the reflection shifted, with it standing behind Mara, threatening to harm her if I didn't do what it wanted. "Do you love her?" it asked inside my mind. "Yes," I thought, or maybe I said it out loud. In my dreams, it was hard to tell which. "Then do as you're told." The smile wouldn't leave my face. My cheeks started to ache. Across from me, Mara's smile flickered, uneasy, as if she could feel the edges of wrongness, but not able to pinpoint where it was coming from. She glanced down, then up again, and caught my frozen grin. Her eyes tightened. "Are you okay, babe?" she asked. In the mirrored reality, the thing leaned in closer to her, as if inhaling her question. "If you tell her, I'll open her from the inside," it said. But not in words, rather in a sharp, cutting image that flashed across my face, of red across her skin that made me flinch so hard my fork scraped the plate. I forced the smile a little longer, holding it unnaturally. Then, mercifully, the pressure eased. The reflections grew still. Mara's face relaxed. The moment smoothed over like a wrinkle pressed out of fabric. The dream blurred at the edges. I woke with my jaw throbbing, the muscles stiff, like I'd been clenching all night. Mara lay asleep beside me, breathing softly, whole and unharmed. I never told her about the dreams. I couldn't. I had to keep her safe. I just kept pretending that I was fine while something old and patient watched us through every reflective surface in the house. By the third night, I was so tired I felt hollow. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw either Gus's caller ID or Mara's reflection at the table with that thing looming behind her. That night, I didn't mean to dream. It just slipped. One blink, and I was suddenly standing in a hallway that didn't belong to our house. It was made of mirrors, floor, walls, ceiling, stretching endlessly in both directions. Every step I took echoed into infinity. My reflection multiplied 1,000 times over, and not a single one moved quite right. Some blinked too late, some smiled when I didn't, and some had that other face layered under mine, like oil under water. At the far end of the hallway, there was a single door. It was the pantry door with the mirror. Even in the dream, I recognized it. Same wood, same frame, same mirror mounted to it, only this one was bare. No blanket and no tape. From behind the door, something was scratching, like it was trying to claw its way out. Slow, rhythmic, and impatient. I tried to walk the other direction, but my legs carried me forward anyway. "Stop!" I told myself, but my body didn't want to listen. The closer I got, the more the reflections warped, showing flashes of my real surroundings like glimpses through security cameras. Our bedroom flickered in front of my eyes, with Mara sleeping peacefully, then back again, and for a second I saw our bedroom door, then the hallway, then the stairwell, and finally the Gothic archway that framed the kitchen. It all flashed before my eyes for a split second. I understood distinctly that I was moving in the real world too, that I was sleepwalking. The pantry door at the end of my twisted hall of mirrors felt so far, yet so close, like it was breathing down my neck. I think I was standing at the threshold between the kitchen and dining room in real life, because I could feel the cool edge of tile against one foot and warm under the other. In the mirrors surrounding me, every version of me was staring at the pantry door. Some were crying, some were smiling, some were even mouthing Gus and Mara's name. None of them could move away. The scratching seemed to have stopped as I stepped closer, and something coarse and grainy brushed under my feet as I stood face to face with my own reflection in the mirror. "Celeste!" A voice resembling Mara called out to me, scared and concerned. "Celeste, open the door!" A different voice called from the mirror, Even though it sounded like Mara, it also sounded like Gus as well. It even sounded like my own voice and a recording layered on top of each other. My hand lifted toward the handle. I tried to fight it, but it was like someone else had slipped into the controls while I watched from the back seat. Something inside me clicked. The next part felt like a blur of overlapping images. Through my own eyes, I saw the blanket-covered mirror, but it was transparent, and underneath was my unnatural reflection in that mirror. My arm rose and hovered in front of it, fingers twitching like they wanted to claw the blanket away. My body felt heavy and distant, like I was underwater and someone else was controlling me, like a puppet on strings. I became aware of the reflection of my face. My lips pulled upward and my cheeks ached, while my teeth felt bare and wrong. I wasn't the one who was smiling. It was my face being smiled on. Somewhere far away, I heard Mara's voice whisper, "Celeste?" I wanted to call out to her, let her know I was scared and alone, but inside the mirror hallway, all of my reflections snapped their heads toward Mara, calling out to me. A voice hissed in my ear, so close it almost sounded like it was coming from inside my head. "Let me wear you properly this time." The world lurched, and for a split second I was behind my own eyes again, fully drowned in the sensation of being stared at by something inches from my face, just behind the blanket. I couldn't hear Mara's footsteps, but I felt her presence like warmth by my side. And then the thing behind the glass shoved itself forward. Something jerked my head to the side. My neck twitched. My eyes locked onto Mara's, and for a heartbeat I was sure she saw it. The way that other face was layered over mine, peering through my features like they were a thin veil. I tried to say her name. I tried to call out to her. I tried to hold her in my arms, but my entire body was frozen. No, my body wasn't frozen. It just wouldn't allow me to move. Instead of my own voice, what came out was a blood-curdling scream. It tore up my throat with a violence I couldn't have generated on my own, raw, metallic, like being dragged across rusted steel from the inside. I felt my lungs burn, my vocal cords strain, my jaw opened wider than it should have. This wasn't fear, but a signal, a claiming. I barely registered the impact as Mara yanked me into her arms, and finally the scream was cut off, and the smile vanished, leaving only the deep ache in my face and a ringing silence in my ears. My knees had buckled, and I pitched forward into her arms. The world went dim around the edges. I heard her voice as if from the end of a long tunnel. "Celeste! Celeste, baby, wake up! Hey, honey, look at me!" I wanted to answer her. I wanted to tell her I was still here, that it hadn't got me, that she saved me. But the effort of holding on was like trying to cling to a ledge with numb fingers. And for a brief moment, everything went black. I finally lifted my heavy eyelids, unaware of how much time had passed. I curled my fingers weakly into her shirt. "Mara?" I whispered, my voice small and fragile. I could feel her swallowing back the terror that had clawed its way up her throat. "I'm right here. I've got you, baby. You're gonna be okay," she said as she held me close. I blinked slowly, like I was resurfacing from somewhere deep underwater. "Why are we in the dining room?" I murmured. With no answer, Mara just held me tighter. When I came back to myself, I was on the couch. A blanket was draped over me, and Mara was fussing quietly. I'm not sure if it was the same day, or if it were the next day, or week, or even a month. Time got weird. I do remember Mara pressing a kiss to my forehead and saying that she had to go down to the office. The landlord called. Nothing bad, she promised. Just something about paperwork and the unit. I believed her, or at least I wanted to. The second the front door closed, the house exhaled. The silence that followed was nowhere near empty. It was expectant. I eventually got up and made tea to keep my hands busy. But as I filled the kettle and turned on the stove, I tried to avoid my reflection everywhere. That lasted maybe 10 seconds. The first time I saw it, it was in the kettle. The metal curved and warped behind my dim, stretched reflection. There was something else that stood just over my shoulder. Tall, head low, as if it were bending to sniff my hair. It was gone as soon as I had blinked. I grabbed a mug from the cabinet, and the inside of the mug flashed glossy white, and for a heartbeat, a dark silhouette rippled across its curve, as if passing by in another room. The overhead light flickered. "Stop!" I shouted. I wasn't sure if I meant myself or it. I flinched from the kettle's whistle and dropped the mug. It shattered across the floor. But then, a plate on the island behind me fell off, like someone purposely knocked it off. The cabinet door that I had left open slammed shut against the frame. The flatware rattled in the drawer until the drawer yanked itself open and the flatware spilled out onto the floor. Every polished surface in the kitchen, from the knife block to the microwave door, showed quick, jittering flashes of movement that didn't belong to me. I couldn't scream. I just backed away, step by step, until my shoulders hit the padded blanket over the pantry mirror. Something beneath the blanket twitched, not from the wind, but somewhere underneath it. I couldn't see it clearly in the reflections, just impressions, glimpses even, a smear of too dark a shadow, a hand that was almost a hand. I realized suddenly that this was what it wanted. "Take it off," it whispered. "You can't protect her if you can't see me." Images slammed into my mind in rapid flashes. Mara at the table, Mara at the stove, Mara asleep in bed with that same blurred figure behind her each and every time, watching and waiting. If I couldn't see it clearly, how could I stop it? If I couldn't face it, how could I protect her? My hand rose of its own accord. I knew I shouldn't. I knew what Gus had said. I took hold of the blanket anyway, and it came off in one smooth, tearing motion, tape snapping free like brittle scabs. The mirror stared right back at me, bare, black, and obscenely deep. At first, I only saw myself, pale, wide-eyed, shaking. Then the lights in the dining room flickered. In the reflection, something stepped up behind me, closer and closer. I should have run, but instead I stumbled backward against the dining table, heart pounding, until the pantry nudged open right in front of me. A sliver of dark, cool air brushed up against me. The house groaned like it was exhaling through the walls. A cabinet burst open in the kitchen. Plates flew. A glass shattered against the wall behind me, spraying shards across the floor. The overhead light bulb popped with a harsh crack. So I did the only thing my panicked brain could latch onto. I hid. I ducked into the pantry, shut the door closed, and curled up in the corner just like I'd done as a kid during thunderstorms. Only this storm had teeth. The space was small and dark, the air stale and close. I wrapped my arms around my knees, pressing my forehead down until all I could hear was my own breathing and the faint, distant sound of the kitchen tearing itself apart. Something moved on the other side of the door. Soft, slow, dragging fingers along the wood. Celeste. It cooed. It sounded like Mara, but it also sounded like me. It sounded like every voice I'd ever trusted, layered over something else, dry and papery. Come out, babe. It's okay. I'm here, the voice said in an eerie way, mocking Mara's voice. I squeezed my eyes shut. If I come out, you'll hurt her, I whispered. The laugh that slid through the crack didn't belong in a human throat. After a while, even the noises stopped. No shattering, no cabinet slams, just thick, oppressive silence. And yet, that was just as bad, if not worse. Time folded in on itself. I don't know how long I stayed there. My muscles cramped, my feet went numb, my throat felt raw, like I'd been sobbing for hours, even though I'd gone quiet only a short time ago. Then, I heard it. Mara's voice again, this time from farther away. Celeste? Celeste, baby, where are you? For one awful moment, I thought it might really be her. My heart lurched toward the sound, desperate. Then the doubt from Gus's warning slammed in right after. If you hear your name, ignore it, even if it sounds like someone you love. Gus's voice echoed in my memory, so I stayed put. I stayed small, and I cried into my knees. The footsteps drew closer. The handle rattled gently. The latch clicked. The door opened. I didn't look up at first. Celeste? Hey, I'm here, honey. You're not alone, she said. At first, I thought it was messing with me, but I felt a warmth with this voice. Mara? My voice was raw. No, stay back. I don't want to hurt you. It might use me. That is not going to happen, she said. Mara edged closer to me. You and I would never hurt each other. Nothing, not even this, comes between us. I lifted my head, just a little, while she was kneeling in front of me. I felt her warmth of her hand hovering near my shoulder. My name was on her lips again, and this time it sounded so painfully real that I finally forced myself to look into her eyes. Mara's face swam into view, eyes rimmed red from crying, her hair a mess. Fear was written all over her. For one heartbeat, I saw only her. Then something leaned in close to my ear and whispered, "She's mine now." The world snapped. A scream ripped out of me, high and sharp and full of terror I couldn't contain. I saw Mara fly backward, like something had shoved her hard and crashed into the dining table. I didn't see the impact. I only heard it, the crash cracking through the air like thunder. The pantry door had slammed shut in front of me. For a few seconds, all I heard was my own ragged breathing. Then, pounding. Mara's voice shouting, "Let her out!" I pressed my hands over my ears, but even though the muffling pressure, I heard something else. A faint, wet, rhythmic sound from within the wood itself, like something was tapping on the inside of the mirror. Her fists faded, her voice dimmed, footsteps retreated. Had she left me? Had I lost her? Then the footsteps came back, quicker now, closer, a sharp inhale, and a heartbeat later, an explosion of sound. Glass shattering, wood splintering, The door creaked open and light had rushed in. Mara stood in the doorway, chest heaving, a hammer dangling from one hand and terror in her eyes. The mirror was nothing more than jagged pieces. She dropped the hammer, and suddenly she was kneeling in front of me, arms open. I hesitated at first, but then threw myself into her arms, even though some part of me still flinched at being touched, afraid that it might grab hold of us both. I clung to her like she was the only solid thing left in my world. I barely caught a glimpse of symbols and a language etched into the wood panel where the mirror once was, the same symbols that were in my first dream. The house roared in protest as we ran. Doors slammed, drawers yanked open. Somewhere behind us, the busted pantry door rattled in its frame like it wanted to tear itself free and follow us. Mara grabbed her keys, yanked the front door open, and half-guided, half-carried me down the steps. The air outside felt shocking and too bright, like I'd been underground for days. She settled me into the passenger seat, buckling me in with shaking hands. I could see the unit's front Gothic-style windows to the living room, and for a split second, something stood in front of the living room window, watching us. Tall, head tilted, with its unnatural smile. I blinked, and it was gone. Mara got in the car on the driver's side and started the car. She immediately pulled away from the house, like it might explode if we stayed another second. While I didn't look back at the town home disappearing into the horizon in the side view mirror, I still felt it, like a smudge inside my mind. The knowledge that I had spoken the wrong words, that I had helped it kill the only man who tried to save us, the only man who was like a father to me, that whatever lived in that mirror had climbed out of the glass and into me.